1st of October 1989, the Thembu nation gathered at the Bumbane Great Place in the Transkei region of South Africa. They came to pay tribute to a man whose life story is a reflection of one of South Africa's most tragic eras of political history. At a time when the kings and chiefs of South Africa were made pawns of oppression and exploitation, this man chose instead to identify himself with the oppressed people, his people. This is the story of Sabata Dalindyebo, the king of the Thembu nation. According to oral history recited by the Xhosa praise poets, the founder of the Thembu nation was the King Thembu himself. It is estimated that he lived some time prior to the 1300s. Little is known or remembered about the activities of the earliest Thembu kings, but through word of mouth passed from generation to generation, the legitimacy of the Thembu royal throne was protected. In succession, the kings governed over Thembu land in accordance with the will of the people. The king was perceived as a father, a provider, a protector, and defender of the home. Under their guidance, the Thembu nation retained its independence for 15 generations. Meaningful contact between the Thembu nation and the invading British colony from the Cape was only established in the mid-1880s. King Ngangelizwe was persuaded by colonial missionaries to sign a piece of paper asking for British protection against the neighboring nations. It appears unlikely that Ngangelizwe actually understood that under his signature, Thembu land was in fact annexed by Britain. In 1885, the Thembu royal family lost their independence. Over the decades that followed, the Thembu fell alongside with all the other South African nations and became the oppressed subjects of a series of foreign governments. King Sabata Dalindyebo was born in 1928. South Africa was a union. According to the government's land legislation, Thembu land formed a part of a so-called native reserve, known as the Transkei.
Sabata uza emva kwami. Singabantwana baka Osujongliswe.
Unfortunately, his father died before he was born.
Uzalwa apha emqhezeni kwindlu ebeke sayibona engasemva ngapha.
Sabata grew up in the care of his uncle at Mqekezweni. According to the Thembu tradition, a young king must not be educated and groomed at home because he might be influenced by enemies with evil plans for the future. Sabata was sent to Clarkbury, another small village about 10 kilometers from his birthplace. He attended school at Clarkbury and obtained a junior educational certificate. It was there that Sabata came to know his people, a nation of black people who were being oppressed by an all-white government, a nation who would one day look to him as their father, their provider, their defender and protector. Sabata had two cousins whose stories are closely linked with his own. One was Nelson Mandela, who also grew up in the village of Mqekezweni. In 1939, Nelson enrolled at the University of Fort Hare, where the third cousin, Kaiser D. Matanzima, was busy completing his law degree.
If you saw Nelson, you saw KD all the time. We We moved around together. And that is the situation today. We still respect one another, but will not touch politics when we're together, because we differ diametrically insofar as politics are concerned.
The three Thembu cousins all